So there's a Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu, and he said, stay in the center of the circle and let all things take their course. So I'm kind of inspired by my new circular mat here. Stay in the center of the circle and let all things take their course. But on an internal level, staying in the center means finding our center, first of all, and being in your center means a place where you feel really comfortable and at ease, and you know that no matter what happens, you got it. You're going to be standing, you're going to take care of things. Staying in the center of the circle doesn't mean that we allow the circle to close in on us. We can still push that circle out a little bit. And we do that in our yoga practice all the time by tackling poses that are within our wheelhouse, but we have to reach for them a little bit more. So one or two poses you might find today that you reach for a little bit more. And as you're reaching, if you can still stay in your center, even as you're reaching, even as you're expanding your circle, then you'll be fine. Everything will be okay. Stay in the center of the circle and let all things take their course. And you know what? If you're reaching for something, if you're expanding your circle a little bit, expanding your limits, and you fall over, not a big deal. You'll just stand back up and we'll go on to the next pose. Find a seat that's comfortable for you. Sit up tall, roll your shoulders back, open across the chest, and then close your eyes. Feel a connection to what is beneath you. So that's the earth. When we can ground into the earth, we're starting to find our center. And now think about a place in your torso that feels like your center for you. So for some of us, that's a little bit lower in the torso. For some of us, it's a little bit higher, maybe up into the chest even. But think about where you feel in your body that your center is. And know that from that place, you can expand, contract, expand more, contract less, expand even more, contract just a little less. And that way, expanding your circle, expanding the places in which you feel comfortable, in which you feel steady and grounded. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Anjali Mudra. We're going to, in a moment, take a deep breath into that center place within us and then expand out with an exhale through our mouths from there. So let's do that together. Think about where that center is for you. Deep breath in. Exhale, expand out. One more of those. Deep breath in, right to the center. Exhale, let it all go. Make your commitment to respect your boundaries. Make a commitment to be in your center, that place where you know you're steady, and that place from which you can create expansion in your life. As you exhale, release your hands down, separate your palms, and then gently open your eyes. All right, we'll begin moving from all fours. So come on to hands and knees. If you want to follow along with the playlist, it's on Spotify. Search for me on Spotify. I'm EDYM428 on Spotify. Today's playlist is called Virtual Yoga 4/30, last day of April. So all fours, hands and knees. Settle in here. Take another big breath in through your nose, right to the center. Exhale through your mouth, let it out. Now breathing in and out of your nose, exhale, cat pose, round the back. Inhale, cow pose, open up the front. One more cat here. And one more cow. And then come into neutral. So letting the center hold here, toning into the core. We're going to open it to the wrists a little bit. So we're going to take 3 circles around the wrist. This means your shoulders are going to circle around your wrists. So circle around in one direction 3 times. Just rotating all the way around front, sides, and back of the wrists. And then circle 3 times in the other direction. Be sure to press your finger pads into the mat. It'll take a little bit of pressure off of the wrist itself. Come into the middle, and now turn your fingers to point back towards your knees. So whatever degree of pointing back works for you. Some of you will be able to get your fingers pointing straight back. For some of us, the fingers will be more out to the sides. From here, take a breath in. As you exhale, cat pose. Push the floor away. Try to keep the whole palm on the mat. Inhale, cow pose. 2 more rounds. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Last time, coming into cat, stretching the insides of the forearms, the insides of the wrist. Cow pose. And then turn the hands back around. From here, we're going to stand on our knees. So walk your hands back until you're standing on your knees. If that doesn't work for you, you can take any seat. Interlace your fingers here and try to keep your palms together or close together. We're going to make figure 8s with the one fist we created. So think about rolling through the wrists as you circle around one direction for a figure 8. And then circle in the other direction. I had to think about that one a little bit. And then release your fingers, shake your hands out like you're flinging water off of your fingers. And then as you inhale, take your arms up overhead. We're going to take a very gentle back bend here, just to stretch the front of the body. If it feels better, you can interlace the fingers. If not, have the hands apart. Look up, open up, let the front of the body stretch out long. And then exhale, hands down to your mat, back to all 4s. And from there, downward facing dog. Lift your knees up and stretch your hips back. Try to get a lot of length through your spine here as you stretch out the back body. So that's backs of the legs and across the spine. And even in your downward dog, think about where that center is for you. In a physical sense, it's somewhere in the torso for most of us, often referred to as the center of gravity. Bob your head around a little bit, let your neck release. And then look towards the front of your mat and start to walk your feet up to the front of your mat. So we'll land in a standing forward bend, folding over the legs. Balancing on the feet, finding that center, not sending the hips too far back, but getting ankles, knees, and hips all aligned together. Staying in the forward bend, take your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers, and then start to bring your hands away from your back, folding over your legs, opening into your shoulders. If you haven't started already, now is the time to pay a little more attention to your breath. So the most important part of the breath in a flow practice is to have a rhythm to the breath. If you can add that toning in the throat so that you can hear the breath, that's a bonus. That's called Ujjayi breath. But at least get a rhythm to your breath. We'll try to maintain that rhythm as we go through the practice. Bring your hands to your hips. And as you inhale, rise up to stand and bring your hands together at your heart. Each time we're in this position, this is called mountain pose or Tadasana, we will try to remember where our center is and also expand our circle a little bit. But stay in the center as we expand. On your inhale, take your arms up high to the sky, look up between your hands. On your exhale, float down to the mat, pouring over your legs. Inhale, lengthen forward halfway. On your exhale, downward facing dog. Step your feet to the back of your mat. And again, try to lift the hips up as the feet sink, as the hands press into the earth, hips lift up. On your next inhale, come forward into plank pose. On your exhale, lower down, chaturanga. Try to hold that just for a beat. And then inhale to a cobra pose. Lift yourself up. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. Look to the front of your mat and walk the feet up, or take 2 big steps or 1 hop, fold into the legs, and then inhale, rise back up, reach up tall, palms touch overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart. We'll keep doing this Surya Namaskar, A, maybe B, and then add some things in. Inhale, lift up, rhythm to the breath. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, stretch forward. Take your vinyasa, plant your hands at the front of your mat. Jump or step your feet to the back and flow through, using the breath to guide you. One pose to the next, staying in the center. From downward facing dog, inhale, right leg back and up behind you. Bend your knee and twist open. Really reach that foot over to the left. And let's open up the right ankle. Circle the ankle around 3 times, one direction. And 3 times the other direction. Inhale, stretch your leg back. Exhale, lunge your foot up to the front of your mat. Warrior 1, spin your back heel down to the mat and take both arms up overhead for Warrior 1. Maybe lower your hips down just a little bit more here and open up the chest a little bit more. Finding your center between the legs in this lunge stance. Turn your palms to face out. And for now, we're going to straighten that front leg, but keep a lot of muscle energy into the quad. Take a breath in here as you exhale. You'll bend your knees, circle the arms back behind you and down, and then inhale, arms back up as you straighten the knee. 2 more like that. Exhale, circle the arms back and down as you lunge. Inhale, lift back up. 1 more, lower down here. Inhale, lift back up. You're going to lower again, but this time interlace your hands behind your back. Roll your shoulders back. Exhale, humble warrior. Fold inside your front leg. Let your head go. There's a little bit of balance involved in this pose, so try to stay with your center. Tighten into your core a little bit to help you find that center. To be stable. And then release your hands down to either side of the front foot. Scoot, lift the back heel up and scoot your back foot back just a little bit so you're in a nice lunge stance here. Put weight into the left hand. As you inhale, circle the right hand back past the right hip and then take it straight up into the air. Take your gaze up past the right hand, twisting open. Here, you're going to keep that twist, but reach your right hand back behind you. Maybe even a little bit of a back bend will help you get your hand farther back behind you, reaching back. And then bring your hand back upright as you exhale. Circle your arm forward and down on the inside of your front foot. We're going to spin that back heel back down to the ground. Your feet are going to stay just like this. You're going to straighten your right knee and bend your left knee. So it's a side lunge, but you keep your hands at the front of your mat. Reach back through your left hip as you reach forward through your left hand, getting a lot of length into the left side body. And then inhale, Bend back into your front knee, hands on either side of the front leg, lift your back heel up, one leg dog, right leg lifts, bend your knee and twist open, and maybe here, get a little bit of hang time. So you're gonna stay balanced on your left hand and your left foot. Maybe start to lift that right hand up as you keep the right foot up, finding your balance here, finding your center, letting everything flow around you. Lower your hand back down, stretch the right leg straight back and up behind you. One leg vinyasa, inhale forward, one leg plank. Exhale, lower, one leg chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bring your feet to the top of your mat. Fold into your legs. And inhale, rise to stand, sweep the arms up high. Exhale, hands to your heart. It's time for the second side, staying with the center. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, float down. Inhale, stretch out. Exhale, take your vinyasa. Of course, you can skip these vinyasas if you like. They're just there for you. If you want that movement, if you want the pose and counter pose. If you don't, you can hold downward dog or a child's pose. From downward dog, inhale, left leg back and up behind you. Bend your knee and twist open. Really reaching the foot to the right and then rolling the ankle 3 times, one way. And 3 times the other way. Inhale, stretch your leg back, square your hip. Exhale, lunge your left foot to the top of your mat. Warrior 1, back heel roots. Front leg, front knee stays right over the ankle. Lift up through your chest. Pull your left hip back and your right hip forward. Find the back bend of this pose. Open into it. And then turn your palms to face out. And then straighten the front leg. Take a breath in here as you exhale. Arms circle back. You bend the front knee into a lunge. And then as you inhale, sweep the arms forward and up and straighten the front leg again. 2 more. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, go low. Inhale, lift up. We've got a half circle here. Lowering down, interlace your hands. Other thumb on top, the weight holding your hands, it's not as comfortable for you. Pull your shoulders back. Exhale, humble warrior. Fold inside your front leg. There is balance involved in this pose, so tighten into the core to help you hold it. Use the muscle strength of both legs to help you hold it while you expand your boundaries a little bit, expanding that circle, but staying in the center. You got it. Release your hands down to the mat. Lift your back heel up and maybe work the back foot back just a little bit. We'll twist around to the left now. Weight goes into the right hand. Inhale, left hand goes back and up to the sky and twist open here. Maybe finding a little bit of a back bend. Now let's take that left arm straight back behind us, as if we're reaching to try to grab something behind us. Keep reaching back, staying in your center, staying balanced, but expanding. And then inhale, arm comes back up. And then exhale, bring it down on the inside of your front leg. Lower your back heel to the mat. Hands will stay at the front of your mat. Left foot stays at the front of your mat. Bend your right knee, straighten your left leg. Reach back through the right hip. Reach forward through the right hand, stretching out that right side body. And then inhale, come back to the front. Take your left arm on the outside of your left leg. One leg dog, left leg lifts back and up. Bend your knee and twist open. Hold the twist here. Maybe get lighter into your left hand. Maybe lift that left hand off the mat, holding your center. And then lower the left hand back down. Stretch the left leg back. We'll take a one leg vinyasa and we're gonna meet on our bellies. So even if you're not taking the vinyasa, work your way down onto your belly. If you're in the vinyasa, you're gonna take your back bend and then settle down to the floor. All right, double quad stretch. Bend both knees. Reach back with your hands, grab onto your feet, maybe your ankles. Draw your heels in towards your hips. If your heels are touching your outer hip and you're not really feeling much of a quad stretch, pull your belly in a little bit more and think about tucking your pelvis under. So that means your pubic bone will get closer to the floor as you pull the heels in. One more inhale here, and then exhale, release. Stretch your legs back. We're gonna work our way up, one pose at a time, to downward dog. So tuck your toes under, get your hands in place for chaturanga, strong legs, belly, upper back. Take a breath in, puff out a little bit of air to lift you into chaturanga, and then straighten the arms, plank, and then lift the hips back and up, downward dog. Bring your feet to the top of your mat, fold into your legs, and then inhale, rise up, touch the palms together overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart. Finding the center. Chair pose, lower your hips down, lift your arms, lift your heart, lift your gaze up in chair. On your exhale, bring your hands to your heart. We're gonna twist to the right, so bring that left arm across. This is just a twisted chair here. And then we'll turn it into a balanced pose going to lunge. This is easier if you look at the floor, harder to keep your center if you look at the side wall or up towards the ceiling. Put your weight into your right foot, hug your left heel up towards your hip, and then reach that left leg to the back of the mat, lowering the ball of the foot down. Lower your left fingers to the floor, reach the right fingers up to the sky. Twisting open here again. On your inhale, release the twist. Hands on either side of the front leg. So we're going for a quad stretch here. I'm gonna give you two options. First option is if your left knee will tolerate being on the floor while you stretch the quad, you're gonna come there to low lunge. If your left knee won't tolerate that, you're gonna come up and balance on your right leg and hug your left heel in towards your left hip. So make your decision how you want to get your quad stretch in here. And then draw your heel in towards your hip. Whichever position you're in, take your right arm up overhead so your right bicep is near the ear. Those right fingers are reaching up to the sky. And in either position, maybe you find a little bit of a back bend here, changing your gaze to take it up to the sky. Deep breath in. And then on your exhale, we're gonna meet in a lunge. So fingertips on the ground, back knee lifted, right foot is at the front of the mat. And then on an exhale, straighten that right leg and fold over it. Just getting a little bit of openness into the back of the right leg. Respecting your limits here. Maybe creating a little bit of expansion. On your inhale, bend back into your front knee. Take both arms up overhead for high crescent pose. We'll take a breath in here. Exhale takes us out to half moon pose. So right foot and right fingers touch down. Left hip lifts up. Left kneecap and left toes point out to the left as the right arm reaches up for the sky. Find your center here to hold you. If you really want to test that center, maybe you lift part of the right hand or all of the right hand off the mat. And then we'll go to Ardha Chandrasana, half moon sugarcane pose. Bend your left knee and reach back with that left hand. Maybe even a little bit of a back bend will help you find it. Find the foot if you can. Press the foot into the hand and open up here. Take a breath in here. As you exhale, release your foot, grounded warrior 3. So all 10 fingertips on the mat. Rotate the left hip down, left kneecap and left toes point down towards the ground. Take a breath in here. Revolved half moon pose. Reach your right arm up to the sky, rotating around in your half moon pose, breathing deeply in that rhythm. Maybe you bend your left knee, hugging your heel up towards your hip, and you reach back with that left hand. You may be able to find your foot. If you don't get frustrated. Just hold your center. And then exhale, release. Step back into a lunge. One leg dog, right leg lifts back and up behind you. Bend your knee and twist here. And then maybe holding the center, flip over. So that's a tight core that's going to help you have a nice, slow, controlled flip. And then back around to one leg dog. And a one leg vinyasa there. We're going to meet in a child's pose. When you finish that vinyasa, if you're skipping the vinyasa, you go right to child's pose. And just be with your breath here. Find that rhythm. Re-find your center. The place that allows you to be steady. All right, make your way back to downward dog. And from there, bring your feet to the top of your mat. Standing forward bend. And then back to chair pose. Lower the hips, lift the heart, and then straighten the legs. Take a little back bend here. So tighten into your core. Find that center. And then from there, rise up. And then from that lifting up, you can take that back bend, expanding your horizon here without losing the center, without collapsing. Inhale, back up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Second side starts with chair. Let's get the hips down and lift the heart up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Twist to the left this time. Right arm comes across. Stay with your core. This is going to be easier with the gaze on the mat in front of your feet. Put all your weight into your left foot. Draw your right heel up towards your right hip. Find that balance, and then slowly step your foot to the back of your mat, and then lower the ball down at the back of your mat. Fly the hands apart. Right fingers to the floor, left fingers to the sky. Opening up as you twist around here. And then on an inhale, we release the twist. Hands down either side of the front foot. We're going for that quad stretch again, so it can be low lunge with the back knee down, or you can do it standing and balancing on the left leg. Your choice here. Whatever your knee will tolerate, knowing your and respecting your boundaries. Whichever position you're in, take your left arm straight up into the air, left bicep hugging in towards the ear. Maybe you find a little back bend here, opening across the chest. And then exhale, let your right foot go. We'll meet in a lunge. Lift your back lift your back knee off the mat. Straighten your front leg and fold over it. Just inviting an openness into the back of the leg without getting into the danger zone of going too far. And then on an inhale, bend back into your front knee, high crescent pose. Take both arms up overhead, lift up. This is a balanced pose, so find your core, find your center here. On an exhale, half moon pose. Come forward, left fingers, left toes on the ground. Lift your right leg back behind you. And turn your knee and your toes out to the side. Take a moment to find your steadiness here. If you don't need a moment and you already feel steady, maybe you lift that left hand off the ground. Let's turn this into the Sugarcane pose. Bend your back knee, reach back with your right hand, find your foot. If you're not quite finding the foot, you can still keep reaching back. And then add a back bend in here. Take your head back, roll both shoulders back. One more breath in. As you exhale, release your foot, stretch that right leg straight behind you. Grounded warrior 3, fingertips on the floor. And then we launch from grounded warrior 3 into a revolved half moon pose. Sweep your left hand back past your left hip and up into the air, twisting. Maybe we start reaching for the revolved half moon Sugarcane, bending the right knee, reaching back with the left hand. If you don't find your foot, stay with your center, hold your balance. If you've got the foot, try to expand open a little bit. And then exhale, let it go, back to lunge. One leg dog, left leg back and up behind you, bend your knee and twist open. You have the option now to flip over. Oh, these look beautiful. Whatever you want to do with that free hand, try to lift your hips up, lift your heart up. And then inhale back around, one leg dog, one leg flow, and we'll meet again in a child's pose. Direct your breath to what you feel your center is in your body. Expanding and contracting from that place. And then make your way to downward dog again. Work your feet up to the top of your mat. Fold into your legs. And last chair pose of the practice. Lower the hips down, lift up through the heart, and then stand up tall. And as you stand, lengthen up through the sides, tighten into the core. That's front, sides, and back. And then from there, maybe find your back bend. Inhale, back up. Exhale, hands to the heart. One more flow here. Inhale, lift up. It's short. Exhale, float down. Inhale, lengthen out. Make your way to downward dog. Vinyasa takes you there, or you simply step back to downward dog and hold it. Lunge your right foot to the front of your mat. Lift up to warrior 2. Moving from your center, straighten your front leg. Triangle pose. Reach out long, and then bring the right fingers down. Left fingers reach up. Draw both shoulders back. Spread across the chest, across the collarbones. And then on an inhale, lunge, hands down to the mat, bend the front knee. Let's bring the back foot in a couple of inches and then straighten the front leg. So from here, we're gonna walk the hands around to the right as we pivot the toes, all the toes, to point to the right. So we're in a cross leg, straight leg situation here, trying to open the IT band a little bit. Think about pulling your left hip forward and your right hip back a little bit. And then as you inhale, rotate back around to the front. Here's your flow option. One leg flow, two leg flow. You decide what works for you. And from downward dog, lunge your left foot to the front of your mat. Come up to warrior two. Split leg stance, finding the center. Straighten the front leg. Exhale, lead you forward and down into triangle pose. And maybe try to turn that triangle into a little back bend, reaching up through the top hand, down through the bottom hand. And then as you exhale, hands at the front of your mat, coming into lunge. So to prepare for this IT band lengthener, I think it's going to be a little bit easier if you bring the back foot in just a little bit. Walk your hands around to the left and point your toes to the left. So you'll probably be on the outer edges of your feet, but we're trying to get the big toe ball mound down towards the ground. It might touch. If it doesn't, we're just reaching it down. Pull your left hip back a little, your right hip forward a little. And then inhale back around to the front. It's a one leg flow or two leg flow opportunity for you here. We'll all meet in a downward dog. Take your time to get there. Let your breath guide you. All right, from your downward dog, we're going to come to a seat on our mats. So this is a wide leg seat. So question is, how wide do the legs go? There are actually two different yoga poses. One where the legs are wide, and then one where the legs are on the same train track. We're just going with the legs wide here. So put some energy into the tops of your legs so that your toes aren't either flopping back or flopping forward, but the toes and kneecaps are pointing straight up. Bring your hands out in front. Inhale, lengthen up through the front of your body. And as you exhale, walk your hands out. So you use the hands to support you. Sometimes it's hard to know with a pose like this where your limit is. So use those hands out in front to support you. Walking out, maybe coming on to your elbows. Maybe walking your hands out in front and lowering your chest and forehead to the mat. Honor your limits here while expanding them. As long as you stay in the center of the circle, let everything flow around you, you'll be good. Also, keep a little muscle energy on the front of the leg. All right, start to walk the hands back in. We're going to revisit this pose after we do a couple of other things and see if the other things do make any difference. So we'll come into Baddha Konasana. So it's another seated pose. Grab on the insides of your knees. Pull the knees outsides and the soles of the feet together. Grab on where you feel comfortable. For me, that's the bottom of the shin. So for some of you, it's the feet. Lift the chest up and then exhale, bow forward. Opening outer thighs, inner thighs. If you flare your elbows out to the sides, you can push the elbows down to help get the outer knees closer to the ground while still respecting whatever your boundary is in this pose here. And then inhale, lift back up. All right, straighten your left leg out on the mat and cross the base of the right shin above it. We're going to do a seated pigeon pose here. So I'll turn to the side so you can see. I'm going to put my hands behind me. There are different ways to get into this, so get into it however you like. I like to put a little weight into my hands behind me so I can bend the left knee, get the foot on the ground. And then as I'm ready, I close the gap between my chest and my right shin and between the back of my left heel and back of my left hip. So just as you feel more opening, you can start closing those gaps up a little bit. Couple more breaths here. These are big muscle groups that we're stretching, so we give them a little bit more time. Okay, you're going to keep the legs in this shape, and on your next exhale, let the legs go over to the left. So the sole of your right foot will be on the ground, outer edge of your left shin will be on the ground, and if your left hip is jacked up, try to get it closer to the ground or on the ground. We'll add a twist in here. Take your right hand behind you, your left arm up, reach up tall, and then as you exhale, you twist right. And bring some part of your left arm onto the right leg. So that can be your hand to the front of the knee. It can be the eye of your elbow to the front of your knee, or more intense, upper arm on the outside of the knee, and then use that leverage to twist around. Look back over your right shoulder. And then inhale, release, back around to the front. And you can unpretzel those legs, stretch them out, bounce the knees out a couple of times. And we'll go to the second side. So now the right leg will stay straight, then the left knee out to the side, base of your shin just above the right knee. And then however you want to get the sole of the right foot onto the ground. I like to lean back into my hands behind me a little bit. And then we'll take just some long rhythmic breaths here, getting these muscles to loosen up. One more inhale here, and then as you exhale, keep the legs in this pretzel. Take them over to the right. So you'll have the sole of your left foot on the ground, outer edge of your left shin and foot, or right shin and foot on the ground. Lower that left hip down, take the left hand behind you, right arm up, sit tall, and then exhale, find your twist. Rotating through the spine. Hip opening, back stretching, lengthening through. And then on an inhale, release back to the front, stretch your legs back out, shake your knees out a couple of times. So I sort of threw in that revolved half moon sugarcane pose earlier. What we're going to do now is stand up and work methodically into that pose. So let's come on up. This is what you might need the block 4, if you got a block. So you'll put the block at the front left of your mat. Is that right? Yeah, front left of your mat. A little bit in front of your left foot, maybe a little bit wider than your left foot. All right, we're going to stand on the right foot. Put a tiny bend into that right knee. That's going to help you balance more than if you have the right knee locked out. So tiny bend into the knee. Bend the left knee. Bring your left foot behind you. We're going to hold it with the left hand to begin. And then reach the right hand back. Grab the inside of the left foot. Take your right arm up into the, left arm up into the air. So you've got to stay in your center, and we'll expand it a little bit. Take a breath in. As you exhale, hinge forward, reaching that left arm forward, and then down, down, down to your block or to the floor. Roll your right shoulder back. Kick your your left foot into your right hand. Sorry about this. And rotate around, maybe taking your gaze up to the sky. Revolved half moon sugarcane pose. Release your foot, forward bend. Both feet, all fingertips on the ground. Take a couple of breaths here to resettle. Connect to the earth beneath you. And then move that block, if you're using one, over to the right side. About 8 to 12 inches in front of the right foot and a little bit wider than the right foot. And then inhale, rise up to stand. All right, let's try the second side now. So we're going to balance on the left leg. Little bend into the left knee, put your weight into the left foot, and then pick up the right foot, bring it behind you. First, right hand will grab the foot and just hold it there for us. And then left hand comes around and grabs the inner foot. Take your right arm straight up into the air. We're ready now. We're going to move, but hold your center. Take a breath in, exhale, hinge forward, and slice that right hand all the way down to your block or to the floor. Push your right foot back into your left hand. Rotate the left shoulder back. Maybe take your gaze up past your top shoulder. And then as you're ready, inhale, release. Forward bend, fold over your legs. All right, we're gonna come back down to a seat on our mat. So, well, it's not quite a seat. We're gonna go into frog pose. So for this one, you're gonna take your knees wide. Your shins are going to extend straight back from your knees and toes point out to the side. So your inner foot is on the ground. So you might want to roll up an edge of your mat or put some padding under those inner knees because this can be intense on the knees. We're going to try to get the knee and the hip joint in line with one another. Sometimes we want to bring the hips forward. Sometimes we want to press the hips back. Try to get them in line here. Forearms are on the ground in front to support you. And you might be able, just a millimeter at a time, work the knees out a little bit wider. It takes some muscle energy to hold this pose. So you're pressing those inner knees into the mat as if you are adducting your legs, even as you're trying to stretch out here. Couple more breaths. All right, let's start to close this one out. It's a little difficult to get out of. I like to bring my big toes towards one another, walk up onto my hands, and then pull the knees in closer. We did that one. We're coming back to a wide leg seat. So I told you we would revisit this one. We did hip opening. We did a couple of more standing poses. So bring the legs wide, maybe a little wider than you're used to now. Hands out in front, lift up through the chest, put some energy into the tops of the legs, and then as you exhale, walk your hands forward. Maybe palms on the ground help support you here as you keep reaching the chest forward and down. Maybe elbows on the ground support you. Maybe you walk the arms out and put your chest or forehead on the ground. But notice if you were able to expand your circle in this wide leg seat, holding to the core so we don't overexpand. All right, I think that's enough of these. Start to walk your hands back in, bringing your torso upright. We're going to bring the legs together. You might have to rearrange yourself on your mat. We're going to go for a shoulder stand here. If you have neck issues, I really recommend a supported shoulder stand, which looks like this, with a block under your hips, shoulder blades kissing one another on your upper back, palms turned up to the sky, feet lifted up over the hips. If your neck is feeling pretty good and you want to go knee into the shoulder stand, then come along. Start by lifting your legs up and pressing the back of your head into the floor. Hug those shoulder blades underneath you. Take a breath in. As you exhale, you're going to lift the hips up off the ground. So you might need a little momentum for that. Swinging the legs up, and then take your hands to your low back. Maybe walk the elbows in a little bit. Reach the feet up to the sky. Keep pressing through the back of your skull into the mat. This will be our inversion for today. If you really need some other inversion, you can come out of shoulder stand, take that inversion. If you're still in the shoulder stand, we're going to move towards plow pose. So start working your feet up or down towards the floor, above your head. Using your hands still to support your low back, honoring your boundaries here. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, begin rolling your hips down. We're going to go straight into fish pose. So palms down on the mat. Hands will be underneath your outer hips. Try to hug the elbows in close, and then bring the legs out at about a 45-degree angle. Squeeze the shoulder blades, lift the chest up. Maybe some part of the back of your head is still on the floor. Take a breath in here, and then as you exhale, lower all the way down to the floor. Take a couple of breaths right here. Free the hands from underneath your hips if you haven't done that already. And then take a deep breath in through your nose. Push it out through your mouth. Expansion. Draw your knees into your chest. Rock back and forth over your back a few times. We'll take a quick twist to each side. So keep those knees drawn in. Take the arms out to a T. As you exhale, take both knees to the right. If you already took yours to the left, leave them there. We're going to go to each side. Inhale, bring your knees back up. And as you exhale, take them to the other side. Inhale, bring your knees up. If you want a full happy baby, you can take that here. If you've had enough, then you're just going to stretch straight out into Shavasana. If you're in the happy baby, when you've had that, then you'll reach out into Shavasana as well. We'll all hold this pose for several minutes and make sure that you feel comfortable in it, because it is the pose usually that we hold the longest. And in this class today, this will be our longest held pose. So make sure you feel comfortable, warm. Take a deep breath in to your center. Exhale, expand out through your mouth. Letting that breath go, letting the effort of the practice go. Letting all the extraneous things around you go. Stay in the center of the circle and let all things take their course. When we are centered, when we're grounded, we know a steadiness. We know we can hold here no matter what happens. So rest easy in that knowledge, letting yourself sink a little more. Before you reawaken your body with movement, reawaken it with breath. So again, deep inhale to your center, find it. And then exhale, expand outward from there. Begin waving your fingers and your toes, inviting movement, inviting vitality into your body. Wrap your arms over your chest. Give yourself a hug here, hugging into that center, that place that's always there, that place that always holds. And then stretch your arms overhead, reach your legs long, stretch out, full body opening up. And then we will come up to a seat. Find your seat and bring your hands together at your heart. When we're in our center, we feel steady, we feel grounded, we feel confident and able to handle whatever happens. Let's take some of that energy that we have and send it out right now to all of those who are sick, to all of those who are in need, to all of those who are taking care of the sick and the needy, all of those essential workers who are driving and stocking and selling the things that we need to keep going during this time. The grounded, steady place within me bows to that place within you. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.